Welcome, everybody, to tonight's Insight Call, the iBug Android Insight Call. Today is January 17th, 2024, and we welcome you to our call where we get to talk about the differences between Android, iOS, and also the features that are so useful to all of us with accessibility needs, right? So, we talk about Samsungs, we've talked about Sony phones before, we talked about Pixel phones. So hang tight if you have questions about any platforms or you want to share your experiences with Android. We welcome those questions. We also welcome you to come visit our website at ibugtoday.com, where you can find out what's upcoming. If you go to the schedules area, you can find out what's coming up. So, give example, on Fridays we have movies night. So, if you join us in the evening, you could watch your audio described movie. So, if you'd like, feel free. And so, I'm going to check in back with Ava. Ava, you out there?
Hey everybody, this is Ava, and I'm in Houston. So yeah, welcome to the show.
Excellent, excellent. And so, Ava, what movie you watching this Friday? Do you remember?
Actually, Friday night's movie will be um, Remember the Titans 2000.
That's what it was. That's what it was. Thank you so much for that. So yeah, let's I guess get the show on the road. I'm basically gonna introduce myself as I'm Hershey. I'm from Central Florida area, and I have Samsung phones that I use as my primary phones, Pixel phones here and there, and then I also just like the challenge of getting things to be a little bit more accessible for our people in our audience. And so, how do we push the envelope to do creative things? So that's a little bit about me. But how about you guys let us know who you are, where you're from, and maybe how has Android improved your life, perhaps, or why have you moved from one platform to the other? Feel free, anybody. Just
This is
introduce yourself.
Helene.
Hey, nice to see you. Happy New
Yes,
Year.
thank you. I am an i iPhone user, but I use my Alexas in the house, and I thought I would join to ask some questions about podcasts and things on Alexa.
We always appreciate you. Thank you for joining us tonight. Thank you.
Thank you.
Anybody else want to introduce themselves and let us know where you're coming from and, how has Android improved your life, perhaps?
Can you hear me?
Copy that.
Hey, Hershey.
Hey,
Uh,
hey.
this is Quentin. Here in Texas.
So when
Um,
Quentin starts talking, excuse me, when Quentin starts talking.
Hello, Shay has had a tooth pulled and she can't talk. This is her mother, so she'll just be listening.
That's fine. Thank you so much for joining us, Shay. And hope you feel better.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
And carry on, Quentin. So,
oh,
how's Android improved your life, you were saying?
I've been using Android for a long time. Definitely a Samsung user. Don't mind the iPhone. It's just been a while. Probably not since the iPhone 4 have I touched an iPhone. So I'm a little out of date with it. Um, Android, you know, phones, tablets, it it just works, and I can do what I want. So,
Yeah, especially when you mention tablets and flip phones and foldables. I mean, we've
oh yeah,
had people ask questions in the past, so I really do appreciate you for joining us this month. I remember you've come maybe a year ago, 2 years ago, but thank you for joining us again tonight, man.
oh absolutely. Anything I can do to help.
Appreciate you. Thank you. And so, with that, if anybody else wants to introduce themselves, let us know where you're coming from, and maybe how's Android impacted your life. Make it good, bad, in between.
This is Kenny from Missouri.
Hey, Kenny, welcome to the show again.
Um, Android has really not impacted my life other than getting a Kindle and putting the Google Play Store on it and listening to the Pixel 8 with the AI, and now today the Samsung Galaxy Ultra 24 with their AI stuff in partner with Google.
Definitely, yeah. Today was a lot of interesting AI talks. Thank you for joining us tonight.
This is Richard from New York.
Richard, we see last time we were talking about the cold, and sorry, buddy. I hope you're staying warm.
I went to the hospital Monday, right after the iBug meeting, and I'm on oxygen and everything else, so I am not going to be really doing much of talking.
No, that's fine, sir. We just appreciate you and a quick recovery for you.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Bad case of the flu.
Oof. Just hang in there, and a quick recovery for you, sir.
Thank you.
You're welcome, sir.
This is Renee.
Yes, Miss Renee. Welcome.
Hey, from Cleveland. For me, Android's just been great for all the ways I like to organize things. So everything from the calendars to grocery lists to being able to set up home automation and things. It's been my platform of choice. And hope you feel better soon, Richard.
Thank you.
Thank you, Renee.
I heard somebody there. Anybody else was going? Okay. Thought I heard somebody else was going to say hello, but give it a few more moments. If not, we could also jump right into the questions if you guys want to just jump in.
Yeah, this is Foster from Houston.
Hey, Foster, welcome back. How you doing, sir? Happy New Year. Happy 24.
Happy New Year to you. And yeah, I will be switching to the S24 Ultra.
Sounds ultra cool, man. No more notes. Keep the note line, but at least you get the Ultra. You get the pen.
Right. Yeah.
But thank you, sir. Welcome back to the show, and I guess we'll keep it moving. Anybody else wants to say hello, introduce themselves? If not, dropping into the questions.
Hello, this is Fazil from Vancouver, Canada.
Hey, Fazil, how's it going? Welcome back.
Thank you very much. And can I ask my question?
Sure you can. Go for it.
How can I mute Talkback in Pixel 6? I've been temporarily mute.
All right. Thank you for the question. So I'm first just going to leave it open to the audience because they are usually the smarter folks because we all here work as a community to get the questions answered. So does anybody know how to get Talkback muted, but just temporarily? So you still have Talkback in the on position, but speech is turned off, basically. I know we know more skilled people out there with Talkback. Come on, people. No one?
This is Renee.
Okay, go ahead, Miss Renee.
I'm not sure if it's the same on that phone, but if you have the proximity sensor up in the upper right turned on, you can tap there, and that temporarily mutes it.
Yep. So I guess where the conversation comes is with what phones are old, what phones are new. Older phones had the ability where you just kind of wave your hand and the proximity sensor would stop the speech temporarily and not focus. The other way would be to put two fingers onto the screen. That's similar to what iPhone does as well. Um, and then there's the way of temporarily turning off speech feedback altogether, which for me personally, I've made it a gesture. So I swipe left and then down, and that turns off speech temporarily. So here, let me give it a whirl here. So it's spoken feedback on and off. So if you wanted to make a gesture to do that, you could go to your Talkback settings. Once you get to Talkback settings, go to the customized gestures area and set that as a spoken feedback. So whatever gesture you're of your liking, maybe it's four finger double tap or what have you, then set that to the spoken feedback turn on and off toggle, and that should mute speech temporarily. So you'd have talkback still in on position, but you just hit the gesture back and forth to toggle the speech. So if you had to pass on the phone to a sighted counterpart, they could actually help you quickly.
Uh, if my memory correctly serves me, remind me there used to be a gesture, I'm kind of forgetting that. What about uh, two fingers triple tap and hold? Would that mute talkback? Two finger triple tap and hold.
Um, to and that's again, I'm trying to remember if was that on my Note 9, because my Note 9 when it had voice assistant, there was a two finger double tap or triple tap to turn the speech feedback on and off. But with the new version of TalkBack, you could again make it as your own gesture as you wish. And you mentioned two finger triple tap it, right? I'm gonna give it
And hold.
and hold. Okay, let me give it a try on my S22 Ultra. So yep, it works the same way. So one, two, three, hold. Yep,
Oh,
same thing. So
okay.
if it works for you, then absolutely. That I just did
Uh,
exactly what you just said.
I mean,
So
it was working for me, but lately I noticed that it is not working. So I would try again
Come
then.
on now.
I see.
Get your face out of the trash.
Open mic somewhere.
Doggy. Fiending.
But definitely a great question there. Thank you for the question. Uh, it's not turning off TalkBack, right? It's not turning off the screen reader, but it could be really useful for people that are really just trying to learn TalkBack and not have it babble at you all the time. So definitely a good helper to almost use it like select to speak.
So two finger triple tap and hold.
Correct on Samsung phones. So I went. Let me give it another try up in this phone. Is on
I'll double check on my
Clothes
fold
are in
though.
the dryer.
1, 2, 3, hold. 1, 2,
Okay.
3, hold. 1, 2, 3, hold.
Your clothes are
Oh,
in the dryer.
1, 2, 3. Nope, never mind.
They're done. They're ready.
So
They're
I
dry.
wasn't
1, 2,
working on
3.
my fold.
We don't know if they're dry, actually.
I'll
What?
try
Yeah,
my
so
note.
There's nothing in there.
that's a part of it being maybe hit or miss with
I don't know.
trying out. You know, depending on what you're trying out. Because I
Hang
heard
on, Hershey.
certain things with folds don't work as.
Hershey, hang on for a
Oh, that
second,
didn't
please.
make it worse. You tell me
We
what
have
the
some
cat sounds from
background
the dog, and
noise
I'll never do it again.
Yeah,
that I'm hearing
can we
that we
have
need.
somebody mute? Can we have that person please mute because it's very disturbing?
Yes, and this is being live recorded. I apologize, Hershey. Go ahead.
what I was just saying is with the Fold, there's some feature that I read the other day. I think it was a magnifier that somehow the Fold has disabled the magnifier. I'm not sure if that's true. Is it where you like triple tap with one finger and hold, or triple tap with one finger to get the magnification? Is that setting still available on the Fold?
On the Fold, yes.
It is. Okay, so they didn't disable it because it being a foldable phone. Okay.
No, and you can do it not only on the outer screen, you can also do that on the inner screen as well.
Got you. Got you. Yeah, like I said, with it, the double finger, triple finger, all of this, there's a dance to it. So I just set my own gestures now. Sometimes I'm not fond of doing all the gymnastics with double finger, double flip, double trap, whatever. It's like my fingers get tired of remembering, is it a double, quadruple tap, or you know, three finger double tap? What button is it, right? So sometimes it also helps just to make your own customization gestures and just set the same parameters, right? So to pause and play and pause, I have it to swipe up and left, and then to turn speech feedback on and off, I have it swipe left and then down. So that just makes it easy, and it's just a one finger gesture. I don't have to have a bunch of fingers to do uh, all of that chaotic thing. But when it comes to copy pasting, I still like using just a three finger tap, and then I usually use a copy last spoken phrase. So for copying lately, that's just been like a ninja move, where you could go in, you hear anything on a YouTube channel or wherever you heard something, and you can quickly get to it, copy it. You could grab the link from it, and really good for Discord and other platforms if you really want to quickly share links. But any other questions? Keep them coming.
That's been the thing with trying to do custom gestures with the Fold. It's been really kind of hit or miss. I've gotten it to do for certain things, but not everything, especially if you go more than say two or three fingers. If you try to do like four finger, triple tap and all, yeah, it's almost like it just doesn't stick, like it doesn't record. But it could just be me and my fat sausages. But I do anything more than three finger. And that's even on the main screen. The front screen, yeah, you can forget. Well, I can forget it. Some of you small-handed people will probably do better than I will on the, because it is kind of small in comparison. So, two finger, single finger, double, triple, all that, it works well. It works great. You can swipe. The swipes work really good, even though it is small. But if you try to do other stuff, yeah, it's not going to work.
And today, since it is Samsung Day as we speak, since the S24, S24 Plus, and the S24 Ultra are out, does it make you want to buy one of those or trade your Fold for one of those phones today?
I don't know about trade my Fold.
So add it to
I
the
would
family,
love to
right?
have one. I
Right.
won't lie. I'd love to have one, but I don't know. With the Vision and the Fold, even though it's not like it's big to where I can see and everything. It's nothing like that. It's more kind of functionality between, well, definitely with using Talkback. It just seems a little easier. Um, because when I do swipe, it's more, there's just room. There's I rarely swipe and make mistakes because on the front screen, if I start swiping, it's skipping like three or four icons and doing things like that. And it's like, wow, okay. But in certain situations, it's great to open it, especially if you need someone to view something for you. You have it open, you show them, they see it. I really don't have to just hand you my phone. I just hold it up, and it's great. Um, Magnification's great, with the bigger surface area there. So that kind of helps too sometimes. Not all the time, but sometimes. Um, and then everything else is just normal,
So
like any
basically,
other
more
phone.
precision with the foldable open type of screen, and even for the accessibility experience, you definitely a better one for you, I guess. Overall,
Yeah, it is. It has been. I mean, I had before this. Well, I had the Note or the Fold 3, but before that, I had my Note and the S20, but my son got the 22, 23 Ultra, and I played with it a little, and I do like the screen and the screen size, but once you go fold,
definitely harder. Yeah, it
it's
gives
it's
it.
kind of hard to go back.
I mean, I considered it with the foldable is better on these phones are getting wider and wider and heavier on your hands, so the amount of usage with Talkback and whatever we're doing, I'm sure it's not good on arthritis or other ailments, right? So, uh,
That that is that's probably the trade-off for some,
right,
especially if you have small hands or, you
right,
know, not to be mean, but like, weak wrist or whatever. Because when you hold it, even when it's closed, you hold it, it's got a little heft to it. So, you're out at the store, you're trying to do this or check a message and you want to pull it out like you do, your iPhone or your other phone, you know, your other phone, you just pull it out real quick, tap, go, boom. With the fold, it's kind of, it's not that you
you gonna
can't
get
do it.
smacked with a chocolate bar?
It's not that you can't do it. It's more, you kind of have to, let's say, let's say you're walking somewhere, whatnot. Okay. Some people, cane users are walking, guide dog users are walking, your phone goes off. You're like, oh, okay, pull it out. You stop, you pull it out or whatever. With the fold, you could do that. I wouldn't recommend doing it while you're, in the middle of a place somewhere because here's the thing, someone bumps you with, your iPhone, a Pixel, S22 or something, not a big deal. It falls out your hand and it bounces. When this falls out your hand, you're going to feel it, so you don't want that grief.
Definitely, not definitely in that wallet
Right.
region. I can't really. But so I appreciate that you gave us some feedback on your kind of use case scenario with the foldable and Android, and that's kind of a point I wanted to make where Android does come in different flavors and different features. So if anybody else has more questions, please keep them coming, and we could try to get down to the bottom to it.
This is Kenny.
Go ahead, Kenny.
Yeah, I was wondering, did anybody get any takeaway from the Galaxy Unpacked with their 24 line?
Anybody want to weigh in on this? Any kind of takeaways, or did you watch the Samsung Unpacked event today?
Yeah, this is Foster.
Go ahead, Foster.
Yeah. What was the gentleman's name that was previously speaking about the phones?
Quentin?
Oh, Quentin. Okay. All right. Okay. All right. Well, I'm going to start with the 2024 Unpack. What's funny with Samsung is they will they will like kind of mimic Apple sometimes on the phone design. So on the 24 and the 24 Plus, they actually are built basically like the current iPhone 15s, like they're they have those round, kind of like those rounded corners, and then it's real flat, flat, so with the aluminum rails. So if you were just to look at the silhouette of the 24, the S24s and say an iPhone, you couldn't tell the difference. So that's kind of funny to me. But the great thing I do like is that Samsung is using the same chip, which is the Snapdragon Snapdragon 8 Gen 3, and in all three phones. And there are a lot of phones that are starting to come out that'll be out this year with that same chip, because apparently they built AI into the chip. And so it was awesome to see how Samsung's using the AI in the chip. And like one of the biggest features that I love is that they actually have live translation. So if I'm talking to someone, let's say I'm talking to my gardener and he primarily speaks Spanish, I don't even have to just use basic Google Translate. I can literally speak into the phone. It'll translate it and say it to him. So I don't even have to do anything. Just get into that app and say what I need to say. It'll translate it and speak it in Spanish to him. He can speak back to Spanish to me, and then it would translate and speak back in English to me in real time. So that's the one major feature why I want to get the phone. And then the second feature is that the new zoom on the camera is ridiculous. So you can zoom in from far, far away and still have clarity. And then going back to Quentin, just a real quick question: do you use like a Galaxy Watch with your phone?
Yes, actually, I have the Galaxy 6 Classic. It works well as with all the others. It is a little, I want to say a little bit better than the 5. I had the 5 and I just traded up. But
how's your experience with Talkback on the Watch 6 Classic?
It is a bit better than my 5 was. It's a bit more responsive, a little less laggy.
Okay.
Even on the 5, it wasn't too bad unless you were trying to do a lot. You're trying to swipe and go to here and tap this. And when you started doing a lot of quick gestures, it would kind of hang, the 5. The 6, not so much. But again, it does kind of come down to those who don't have sausages. You're gonna have a little bit better, moment with it. Although I did get a chance, so I have the Classic, but I did get a chance to kind of test the I guess the regular. It doesn't have without the bezel.
Yeah.
When you don't have the bezel,
6, that's what I have.
Yeah, when you don't have the bezel, it is a bit easier to use and navigate.
Okay, so that little bezel that you twist around, kind of,
right?
Especially like you said, depends on the size of your fingers. It makes it kind of difficult to do some of the gestures.
More the pull down. It's more the pull down gesture, or
Okay. Right. Well, like when you pull them down to check your quick settings.
Right. Yeah, and that's even when you go to the app, you swipe up for the app. That's actually easy, but when you go to swipe down, for some reason, you got to find the sweet spot.
Okay. Yep. Yeah. I understand that.
But again, at least for those big hands.
Yeah, I was thinking about getting a fold. My only because of the I'm low vision, so I still have pretty good vision. So I was thinking about getting that simply because let's say I'm at work and I want to check the web application and check the status of my ride. Well, instead of using a small screen on the outside, I could open it up, have that bigger space to pull
Right.
up use the web browser, pull up the web app, and see it in a bigger space and see it with more information on the same screen as they having to swipe up and down and pinch the zoom. So that's the one reason I wanted, but then just the price point right now is still out of my league. But then if I'm gonna look at getting the S24 Ultra, then okay, now I'm only a couple of $100 away from getting the fold. So it's
and
the
just to give a
trade-off.
price
Which one
point,
do you get?
to give you all a price point on the S24, it starts at $799, and then the Ultra is at $1299. So, the
Right. And
Ultra
the Ultra
is fully packaged.
Right. The 24 comes in two models, 8 GB. They both have 8 GB, and then I think one is 128 gigahertz, and the other one's 256. And then the 24 Plus comes with 12 gigabytes of RAM, and it has I think it has 128 and 256, and then the Ultra has 16 gigs of RAM on each model, and it has I think it's 256, 512, and 1 terabyte. So so that base price is for the 12 gigabytes with the 256 storage.
Right. I mean, for those who use their phone for everything, which I'm not that person. I mean, I use my phone periodically, but not like most who are like power users. You're saving things. You're basically using your phone as a portable PC most of the time, or note taker or whatever. The larger, you generally won't really need it to be so big. I mean, unless you're just one who likes to use a ton of apps. But I want to say with most of the phones I've had with, you rarely max that out. 256 is about the sweet spot these days.
Mm-hmm.
You have enough, and also you have to remember too, you can add storage as more. I could drop a little micro SD in here and just give myself even more space. But most do well with the 256. So, because it gives you enough to do, you can put your ton of pictures on there. You can
Right.
put, at least 2 movies, actual movies on there.
Well, Quentin, this is Sergi, by the way, and Foster and Quentin, for both of y'all. How about everybody that wants to download all the books off of Bard, right? Because now Bard Books has become that thing to do where your phone better have that storage to support, the app. So, what about the ease of use with books? Did I hear Ms. Renee talk about it, I think?
Yeah. Also, Quentin, I just wanted to say, Kurt here, the new S20, I think since the S21, they have not had SD card slots on most flagship Android phones. So you're kind of stuck with what you buy, unless you want like a hard drive.
Right. And that you're paying for that cost of business with just buying a Like I think I ended up getting the 512 version for the S22 Ultra, but sometimes you have to factor that cost where if you're going to be using Bard or downloading stuff just to keep an archive, and that is your storage box, then it's worth paying a little bit extra.
This is Helene.
Go ahead, Miss Helene.
Go ahead. Can I ask a question about
yes.
Using Alexa for when I want to listen to a podcast? If I say play latest episode of Mac Accessibility, I don't think it understands what I'm saying. So then I end up with music or I end up with something else, and I can't really spell. Is there a trick that you have to do to get Darcy's podcast on an Alexa?
That is a really interesting question.
Foster.
Go ahead, Mr. Foster.
Yeah, this is Foster. So with the Alexa, there are various, like with the speaker, there are various podcasts. They call them skills. There are various podcast skills. So for me, I still have, I invested in, Apple Music and stuff a long time ago. So for me, I activated the Apple Podcast skill on my device, and so then when I ask it to play a specific podcast, it'll say getting such and such podcast from your Apple Podcast, and it'll play it. So the first thing you have to do is choose a podcast skill. Then once you have that skill on there, then you ask you'll ask your speaker which you tell your speaker which podcast to play, and it'll if that podcast is within that podcast skill, it'll play that podcast for you. But I do have an issue sometimes because as many microphones as this thing has, it still messes up. It doesn't hear me clearly sometimes when I'm request a certain podcast.
So there's no way to type it.
Kurt?
Oh, well, there is one option you can do. If you use the app on your phone, you can actually look it up that way, and then have it, you can have it play on whichever speaker you want. You can choose. You can it'll start saying off on your phone, but then you can choose to play it on another link device, like a Echo, a Kindle tablet. So yeah.
I heard Kurt after that, and somebody else spoke after that. So Kurt, you want to go ahead real quick?
Yeah, so one thing you might try, and I don't know if you've done this already, but sometimes it helps just to tell it that you're listening to a podcast. So instead of saying, I don't want to say the word, instead of saying computer, play Mac Accessibility, you can maybe say play the Mac Accessibility podcast on TuneIn, because I think TuneIn is there by default. And then if that doesn't work, you can try doing what's been suggested already and getting another podcast skill like Apple Music or Spotify or one of the other ones.
Okay.
That helps
Thank you.
You're welcome.
It's Mandy.
Ahead,
I have
Mandy.
another suggestion too.
Go ahead.
Again, all those answers were perfectly helpful. And the other suggestion I would make is call it, when you try to call up that podcast, call it the whole name. You would say the, or actually not the, I don't think, you'd say Mac Accessibility Roundtable Podcast. I wonder if that would work. I don't know. Try it. That might help.
Okay. And speaking of podcasts, I am upset with Google Hershey.
I am too.
They did away with the Google podcast and they moved it under YouTube Music, but YouTube Music doesn't have all the podcasts I like to listen to.
You know what's interesting about all these applications amongst the umbrella of Alphabet, which is the parent company? Good news is self-driverless cars are doing good. Waymo's doing good. I'm saying, kidding. Well, with AI and everything else, because we don't know what's happening with it with Assistant anymore, right? Because as AI is getting better and Gemini and all this other stuff, today's business look at it from today's viewpoint as Samsung's event. Well, they're using Gemini as their AI infrastructure. So having that assistant to help you do, translation, this, that, and the other, that is game changing. And then for us specifically being vision impaired, I think it's going to be huge because it can leverage using video, right? So rather than stills of, hey, what color's my shirt? I could leverage my video and it's going to tell me quickly what color's my shirt. So I mean, there's always that push and pull in this whole market of Android, and this depends, I guess, what camp we're in these days. The assistant did lose 17 features, so if you do want to join, how I learned about it was, thank you, Ava, is she posted it on the iBug Android Insight subscribe list. So to join that, send a blank email to iBug Android Insight +sign subscribe at groups.io. And, if you have questions between now and next month in February, since we're every third Wednesday of every month, you could drop us an email. You could ask your question there. So I read that Verge article, and 17 features are getting removed. But again, I look at it in two different perspectives. One, yes, things got removed, but there's also a point of change, right? And change always will occur. So how does
Could you
this
please repeat
change?
the
Go ahead.
Could you please repeat the email address to subscribe?
Sure thing. So iBug, IBUG, and an Android, ANDROID, Insight, INSIGHT, and then the +sign, groups, +sign, subscribe, and then at groups.io.
Thank you.
You're welcome. And so, yeah, if you just send us a blank email, we will be able to communicate in between if you have any questions about Android, or you might have some insightful information that people should know and read. So, I know the assistant's changing. I know that there's a lot of people have left Teams. Google Lookout, if you guys, ladies and gentlemen, remember in June of last year, or 2022 maybe, Scott Adams came from Google Lookout team, and there's only 12 people that ran that team at that point. So, we have to remember, let's not be harsh to our humans, otherwise the literal Android AI robots will take over. And that could be truthful pretty soon. Maybe not. Let's not get freaked out. Anyway, any more questions?
Kurt, I have one
Kurt.
quick question.
Go ahead, Kurt.
Sorry, and I missed
You're
the
fine.
first of the meeting, so I don't know if this is being
Thank you
covered.
for coming.
Yeah, but I have a weird issue. I have an S22. I'm running One UI 6. I got rid of Samsung's Talkback and put Google's Talkback on there, but this issue was happening with the Samsung one too, where if I go to the overview screen with all the recent apps, before I could just swipe down on one of the apps, right? And it would swipe through the actions, activate, close, and I could close an app that way. Now I don't seem to be able to do that since One UI 6, and I'm wondering if anyone else has run into this and what any solutions might be.
Thanks for that, Kurt. I was about to open up a few apps to test it myself. Sorry for jumping on the bandwagon too quick there. But anybody have answers for Kurt that might help him using One UI 6?
Renee,
Go ahead,
I have
Renee.
a question.
Yeah,
You said you can't swipe, like get it to scroll when you're swiping through apps. Is that what you're talking about?
No. So what I'm talking about is, let's see, what do they call the screen? the screen that has the list of all your open apps, and you can
Recent.
close all. Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah. I can scroll through the list just fine, but I used to when I had one, like when I had one selected, I could just swipe down on it and it would do a talkback action and I could just close the app. And that seems to have gone away.
Hey Kurt, just ensure whenever you do bring up the overview or whatnot that it's not stuck in headings. And I think Kevin also might have some input, but I just tried it on mine and I just had to change it to controls. So once I changed it to controls, then I found the close all open apps for the overview or recent apps, however you recognize
Yeah,
it.
so I can find that. What I've lost is the ability to close one specific app in that list with the
Right.
talkback action. And I switched over to controls and it's not working, so that's very strange.
Interesting. Even with controls. And Kevin, you had some input on it, please?
Trying to see. Oh, maybe I didn't ring it. I have to check and just see because I just traded in my S22, but I have a work S22. But I'm using the regular Samsung Talkback.
Cool.
See
Same
if
here.
this is going to.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And you're living on the edge, Kurt. I know it's okay.
Well, I put the Google one on my my Note 10,
Right.
and right out the box, the Google one, I know what he's saying. It works right out, where you can do the swipe. I did have the issue where it went away, but I don't know how I got it to come back.
Oh, okay.
That's the I don't know how I got it to come back. I'm thinking it's probably, one of the options like take it off headings, but I'm not
So
sure.
just like the
Okay.
Samsung AI, I'm gonna translate the language for everyone to make it simple. So they're talking about a Google screen reader called Talkback, and then Samsung has now their named screen reader is called Talkback. They used to have a screen reader named Voice Assistant, which that's no more. So if you had an old like Note 9 or a S9 that had Voice Assistant as a screen reader, then it graduated to Talkback. But some of the features that come from Google are on Google's Talkback screen reader. So when we all suggest phones, we typically say, hey, go for the Pixel phones because you're getting the screen reader straight from Google. When it comes to Samsung, they're not bad. They're great phones. They're great hardware phones in comparison to even the Pixel phone. But it's the screen reader and it's the software part that sometimes gets delayed. So you might have a 6 month delay until you get the features from what you saw on Pixel phones. And so just a little translation in language if everyone's like, huh, what are they talking about? And then
Yeah.
Amazon have another screen reader called Voice View. So there you go. We'll just poke fun at Amazon for not being part of the pool party.
This is Kenny.
Go ahead, Kenny.
I had a question about they mentioned Samsung Cloud, and I know Google has their cloud and so forth and so on. Is Samsung Cloud free or is it a paid service? And they mentioned backing up, doing end-to-end encryption, and I don't know if it backed up the whole phone on Samsung Cloud or just the Samsung part. And I wanted to know if anybody had any clarification on that.
Thank you, Kenny, for that question. Anyone have some proper clarifications? I have some ideas, but anybody else want to dive in on that?
This is Kevin.
Go ahead.
So first with the S22, so it is doing the same thing on mine, and I have the Samsung and the Samsung Talkback with One UI 6. So, but it seems like the application, as in the recents, doesn't support actions because everywhere else it works. And if you swipe to the right or left with three fingers, you can't even make it go to actions. So somehow Samsung has disabled that um, feature because you can't even. I don't think you could even like tap with 3 fingers and go into Actions. I don't know if Actions is supported here at all, but you can swipe up with 2 fingers and close the apps individually. You just swipe up with 2 fingers.
Oh, you can do it that way? Okay. I didn't know you could do that. Thanks.
Yeah, if you
Glad to know
swipe
it
up
wasn't
with
just
two
me.
fingers, yeah, just swipe up with 2 fingers on the app, and that's easier than having to go through the menu and double tap on the one you want.
Lots and
Cool.
lots of ways with Samsungs and then the
All
Pixels.
right. Good to
So
know.
awesome.
And with
And
the cloud, I always switch mine to Google Drive. I don't use the Samsung. I got a notice one time from Samsung saying that they were doing away with the with their Samsung Cloud, and that everybody should go to OneDrive or Google Drive, and that's what I did. But now they're talking about Samsung Cloud again, so I don't know. But all of my phones go to Google Drive. I don't use
come over here. No, come
Samsung
over here.
Cloud.
No. Yeah, it's confusing. It's confusing because this is the first year. It feels like that they finally were properly partnered up with Google, whereas in other years they were more Microsoft heavy. So in the past, they mentioned because I think their infrastructure is ran off of Azure, so that's Microsoft's infrastructure, so to speak, of cloud computing rather. So it just depends between who you'd like. I mean, if you with the Gmail account you get 15 gigabytes. I think with Samsung you might get 5 or 10. I don't recall the exact number. But for what it's worth for backing up, I don't mind if it backs up onto the Samsung Cloud. And then I already have OneDrive as a family plan, so I have a full terabyte of whatever I would like to back up to it anyway. So those are two methodologies of at least getting things backed up to where you need it to be. And that's if your money is all into Google, then you might have the 199 that you pay annually or monthly rather for storage through Google for maybe let's say I think 100 gigs or something like that is $1.50 or something like that. So it just depends what plan you go for between them, and then with Office, if you pay $99 for a family plan, you get 5 users. That means technically you have 5 terabytes of making 5 different emails, and you could add that to different places. So those are a couple of choices you have there.
Well, and I always, this is Quentin. I always tell people, especially those that aren't necessarily tech savvy, I'm like, look, no matter what phone you get, even if you get an iPhone, make sure you connect to Google because your photos and various other apps will sync up and you're good. In case there's an issue, I know Apple has their iCloud, and like you said, you got OneDrive and now Samsung Cloud. But as long as you have it with Google, then anything else you decide to use, now you have the same data saved twice. So that picture you mistakenly got rid of, well, guess what? It's somewhere else, and you're good. You know.
And I guess it is. I don't find it worthy to say it, but I mean, you also do have Amazon as your other choice there, and so they also offer photo storage and music.
I
So
mean,
it's up to the end user, in my at best opinion. But everybody wants you as a product in some shape or form. So Meta is going to have you as your product because you have Facebook or Instagram and such and such. But how do we all interact with it? Is it off of an Android device? Is it off an iPhone? And then you might have other companies where it's not necessarily hardware, but it's just the fact that you enjoy, shopping in a specific place, so you're getting advertising for that targeted reason. So there's different ways of you become the product and the customer and all that in one place, and just our safety is buy the better product and make sure accessibility is there for each other, right? We don't want to have a company give us a phone because of our age or our ailments or whatever, and it's barely a entry level phone sold to the local public. why does it make it fair that they sell it to us? The jitterbug type of companies and what have you. Sometimes it's atrocious that we have our elderly folks that get stuck with these phones, and we know the signal and all that stuff is weak on those phones and they don't work. And so hopefully we can make change in that space, right? Especially with Android. So, any more questions, thoughts? Please keep them coming. That's just a little bit of tidbits of thoughts.
This is Foster again.
Go ahead, Foster.
For you Samsung users, does anybody have experience using the Samsung Dex, which is kind of like it turns, you can plug it up to another screen or monitor. And,
yes.
It'll kind of give you a computer desktop type experience. Was that you, Quentin?
Yes, I've used it both on my phone and my tablet. I have a SA tablet, the SA Plus or something like that. It works great. I love it. I've even had it connect to one of my TVs and screen share and mirror, and it actually was a lot better than it has been in past years.
So does it work well, like as far as accessibility?
I heard two people speak there. You want to answer that there, Quentin? I think that question
sorry.
to you.
I clicked the wrong button. In general, yes. Accessibility wise, it does work. It's just if you, like when I mirrored it to my TV, I did have a few issues, like with Talkback, not finding fields and whatnot. It did have an issue there, but when you use it just normal, it works pretty good. I really haven't had a major
went on mute.
A major setback for it. Sorry, my dog. Sorry about that.
You're fine.
But it's kind of a try it. Try it for yourself. See what you need to use it for, because that's how you're really going to know if it's going to work for you or not.
And this is Hershey. The only feedback I could give you is it's been getting better and better every iteration. I tried it way back when. I mean, I've had S5, Note 5, and I've been always trying it ever since they've had that product on the Samsung side. And for Samsung users, I would say Dex is a little bit better than even the PC Link, that you could connect your Windows machine through your Android phone that way too, by using the PC Link component. But Dex is definitely a work in progress, but a good work in progress.
Yeah, the reason why I asked that is because I bought a 14-inch portable monitor, and I was trying to use my Pixel 7 Pro with it, with the USB-C to USB-C, but because Google already has the Chromecast, they've disabled that feature where you can, like connect the USB-C plug to an external monitor, and it'll mirror the screen that way. Whereas, like if I plug my
one thing, Foster, one thing I would want you to, if you wanted to play with it with your phone, when you hook it up to the USB to that monitor, set it to a webcam and see if your phone becomes a CCTV for you at all.
Okay, I'll try that.
Because lately they've changed the feature sets that if you plug and play with the Pixel phones especially, you could use it as a webcam. So, I mean, just to give it a try that way, and then I know you mentioned that you don't have, I guess, adequate use the way you want to use it, but maybe we'll figure out some workflows here.
Right. Yeah, but that might work too. Because if I could use the screen with my webcam, that would definitely be a benefit too. That way I wouldn't be stuck looking at the small screen. Like, and mainly when I'm at home. So, yeah, I'll try that. Thanks, Hirsch.
No problem. No problem. Any more questions, thoughts, concerns? Feel free. This is your show. Thank you for being here. Remember also you could find all the content on YouTube. So if you type in iBug today in YouTube search, you'll find a playlist. So if you click on go to channel, and then you'll see a tab or a link rather that says playlist. And you can find, I think there's like 32 episodes for iBug today, or for iBug Android Insight. So thank you so much for everybody that revisits the content. I think November was like 52 views or something. So thank you for all y'all to revisit the content and pass it on along to your friends, family. Trying to make it helpful for everybody, and trying to fix this factor of companies giving us phones that they don't give us that much accessibility, and how can we really fix it by answering each other's questions, and then trying to get down to these companies to see how can we find funding as well. So if you have any thoughts, concerns, keep on coming.
Hey, Harshid, can I ask you a question right now?
Go ahead.
It's Mandy. So I'm curious if I missed this, I'm sorry if you already said that. Sonia did something on the iOS users group call that I thought was really cool, where after the meeting, she just let everybody talk amongst themselves so I get to know each other. And I thought it was really cool on the iOS group that they did that. And I wondered if that was something the Android group would.
At this time, no, we would have to talk with them about doing that, but at this time, we are not doing that.
Thank you, Mandy.
Frozen.
Come again?
No, I know she was asking about after the iBug calls on Monday, they do a 30-minute where they, have they can have a discussion, a little get together. And at this time on our Android calls, we're not doing that.
Copy.
At this time, so.
Copy. Yeah, so
that's
as far as we know,
bring to the
we're
table.
not doing it right now, yeah.
Yeah, that's something we may bring to the table when we meet again.
Mm-hmm.
And if people are interested, just send us a note.
Send it to
on our list.
ibugtoday.com. Go to the website. Send them feedback. If that's what you need, that's what you want. We're here for you also.
Yeah, or especially send it to our Android list. So if that's something that you're interested in doing, send it to the Android list. And when we do our next meeting, we will bring it to the table.
Certainly. And I'm really glad, like I said, this is year number 4. And it's mind-boggling to think where we've come from, especially with the journey with Android. And I'm so glad Miss Alina's here tonight too, because she's been part of the iBug family in many different facets, joining different groups. So, if this is kind of your first time, feel free to kind of mingle around all these other groups. If you're into Star Trek, we have our Trekkie Talk on Thursdays, and so I'm just privileged to at least be able to talk about Android and talk to you guys about whatever questions. And it always helps to go research right after this point. I'll take some thoughts back and go research. So I'm so glad that Kurt, you're back after a long time. I haven't seen you. You've been on YouTube land in many different facets as well. So we all have different Android knowledge, but feel free to share what you know, and we just want to make it easier and make that whole transition between iOS and Android easier for each other. So.
Yeah, thanks, Harshid. I'm glad to be back.
Absolutely. So what phone are you using again, Kurt? S21?
I've got an S22.
23, okay.
Yeah. Kind of figure I'll hold on to it for another year or so and see where AI is then.
Can I dump all the Braille questions onto you? Is that okay?
Sure.
Okay,
Go
so
for it.
my friend here, Kurt here, I call him the Braille man because he says it like it is. So for people that are totally blind and do rely on Braille, if I need to figure out, my conscience of my Braille conscience, I come to Kurt because he's going to give it to you like it is. And a lot of people will not try it and they'll just kind of babble about, oh, there's no accessibility, it's not working, and they don't try it, they don't know about it. So, for what it's worth, last I know is Braille is really useful on Android, and some people are even liking it a little bit better with the way the keyboard works. But certain other aspects like the HID and stuff, I'm sure will get addressed sooner or later. But
Yeah.
any other notations of Braille that you want to note for tonight?
Yeah, so I do like how stable Braille is on Android, even compared to iOS. Like, it doesn't seem like it has as many features and commands or customizability, but like it, my display never disconnects or like rarely. And, I can write and like just keep writing and writing and writing, and the cursor doesn't move at all. And like, I can't say the same about iPhone. So I like it.
Fantastic. Wow. Interesting. See, I wouldn't have known that part. Appreciate it, man. Really, really
Yeah.
do appreciate it.
I have a quick question.
Go ahead.
I'm starting to try to use the voice commands of Talkback, but every time I tell it say something or ask it, it's just like, oh, you got to go check the help, and I'm like, but I did.
Step number one: buy Velcro. Put one part of the Velcro on one part of a hand, other on phone. Don't throw phone away. I'm kidding. I'm kidding. No, because sometimes it does make you feel it because you're hitting the gesture, right? You're like swipe, like here, I'll do it right now, maybe. Oh, jeez. Okay, fine. It's not. Okay, anyway, it's being temperamental for its own right conscious, but
right.
Some days, yeah, it does feel like that, and I leave it as the easiest gesture, so it's like swipe right and up, and you could say like select all, and half the time in text messages or Discord especially, you could say select all, and then that way you could just hit delete, and it'll clear out everything quickly. Otherwise, you're just holding down delete, and then yeah. Go ahead.
Yes. Yeah, it's those practical uses. I'm like, well, you know what? I should probably learn this, and I do. Like, I'm like, okay. One of the things that is still bugging me is I try to take a little time and use the screen curtain. So someone was like, "Oh, you could turn it on and off. It'll be great. Just use the voice gesture." And I'm like, "Oh, okay, yeah, I'll try that." I get stuck at turn off screen, and it just doesn't. I'm like, turn off screen, and then I swipe. And
go ahead, Kevin.
Do you mean, are you using the talkback voice commands, or are you using the accessibility voice access?
The talkback, what is it? Swipe right then up.
Yeah,
Right?
the voice commands from Talkback. So
you have to go through the list, and you have to use pretty much
verbatim
their wording. You can't choose your own wording.
Yeah.
You can't choose what. So they use the term hide. So in the talkback menu, if you were to tap once with 3 fingers, it says hide screen. That's the term you have to use if that's what you want it to do. They don't call it the screen curtain. They don't call it turn off screen. They don't call it dim screen. They call it hide screen. So that's what you have to say. If you want it to copy, you have to say copy. You can't say duplicate or whatever. So you have to use exactly the terms that they use. And so that's why it's good to have a look. That's why it's always referring people to the help so that people can go in there and see exactly what it's been taught to accept. So if you say anything other than type when you're telling it what to insert in the edit field, if you say anything other than type or write, it will not accept it.
That's good to know. That explains a lot. Thank you.
Thank you. Yeah, a lot of fun learnings up in here. So yeah, any more questions? Please keep them coming. We have a little bit more time here. So
Well, you said the other one was the accessibility menu voice. That has a voice too.
No, they have a voice in the accessibility settings. It was a beta at one time, and it was an app that you had to install, but now you can control your phone with your whole phone with your voice. Like you can tell it,
and
tap
speaking
this,
about
tap
voice
the third thing
access,
on the screen. Yeah, it's called voice access. And you can tell it what to tap on the screen so you can operate the idea is for you to be able to control your whole phone without having to touch it.
right? So if
Oh,
you have
I
any
have to check
mobility
that out.
impairments, that's the voice access way of controlling the phone. But it's not necessarily to say that's your screen reader, right? So screen reader is still doing the screen reading job. Voice access is just controlling elements on your phone with numeric values or your speech, essentially. So be careful if if you rely on Talkback and that, because you might get tripped up and then might not have one or the other to get you out quickly.
That's good to know.
Any more questions, thoughts, concerns? Please, it's your stage. So, Kevin, what's digging over there in Texas? What are you buying these days? Any new? Are we
I have
switching
the
up?
Pixel 8. I have the Pixel 8 now, and I wanted the Pro, and I'm still regretting that. I did not get the Pro, and I'm going to get the S24. I don't want to get the Ultra because it's too big, but I want the ultra wideband, so I'm having to decide.
How many inches is the Ultra this time around? 6.8, 6.7?
It's like 6.7. The other one's
Okay.
6.2. I don't know why nobody will make like a 5-inch phone anymore.
Yeah, I missed my
With a
Note
flagship
Those don't
spec.
sell.
S5, Note 5.
Those don't
They
sell
don't
again.
sell because they don't try. They haven't put them on the market anymore. The last 5-inch phone was the
It's just
Pixel 1.
the blame is, oh,
So
the
they haven't
battery is
even.
more compact and the batteries, there's less room for the battery, there's less room for the
Well,
sensor. It's always blaming somebody else.
well, the thing of it is so one, so it's called about Android. One is like even Apple recycled the old phones and put the latest model chip in them, and they're still, they're not 5 inches, but they're still uh, small. They're still smaller, right? So that part right there that they're talking about, that's not true, because you can take a smaller phone and put a higher chipset in it, then excuse me, like for people, for a lot of us that are blind and visually impaired, there's a good portion of us that don't even use the screen, right? So we got it darkened so nobody can see what's on it. So yeah, they still could do it, but when they do market numbers, there are more sighted people, and the more sighted people are not buying those smaller
Right.
model phones. So it boils down to money. What's gonna make them money?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And then
I
even
gotta say, sorry.
go ahead, Kurt.
I was just gonna say, sorry, I don't know if I don't want to accidentally interrupt people.
No, you're fine. Go ahead.
um, it seems to me like I used to really love small phones, but and like Android over iOS has, I think, made me use the screen more and be conscious of where things are on the screen more. And I kind of, I it's weird. I wouldn't have thought I would like a bigger phone better, but I got like 6.2-inch screen, and I'd upgrade a little just because it seems like Android makes you know where things are on the screen more. I don't know if that's real, but feels like it.
It definitely does feel like it, yes. The spatial awareness of where things are, like your dock or clock and battery.
Well, I've had my Pixel 6 Pro for 2 years, and I'm still not used to it. It's too heavy. It's too big. It's too wide. It's too everything, and especially to not have to use the screen. Like every time I pick it up, it's a chore.
Man, this is between that and now AI. I'm glad we could keep the AI business in one bucket at least, right? It's in Google's bucket, so we ain't gotta worry about where my AI is, fluttering around town. So at least that's great. Because I mean, to keep up with hardware, it's enough. I mean, now to figure out who's going to give me the better hardware piece, I just want something comfortable, guys. Sony, matter of fact, quick. I hear you over there, Foster, but quick one just to slide this in. Sony, matter of fact, is on Be My Eyes. So if you do use Be My Eyes and you go to specialized help, Sony is right up there front and center, right? So Sony is trying to get into creator space as well. They're trying to get into different spaces that other companies aren't picking up on. So let's see, as far as help needed, a camera that has a screen reader on it. Yes, please. A phone like buying the Sony, whatever Genesis of versioning that they do right now, 1 plus 5 plus 8. Sorry, I don't even know the versioning of Sony phones. But Sony, come on out, come on aboard, Come by next month. Stop by, let us know what you guys have. But the accessibility piece. At least their TVs have accessibility. All these other phones have accessibility. So I'll let Foster and Kevin, if y'all wanted to say something, go for
it. Yeah, well, and then with Sony, I've been a T-Mobile user for years. And so the models you're talking about fall under the, the more premium ones fall under the Xperia, XPE, RIA. And Sony really Samsung and Sony cameras are almost neck and neck. And for most Android phones that you see on the market, most of them actually use Sony hardware. And up until maybe 5 or 6 years ago, guess what camera was in iPhones? It was a Sony. So Sony still controls, even though their phones don't sell that much, they still control the market as far as camera hardware that's being
quietly in the back
put in the phone. Yeah. But the best thing about Android is buying an Android phone is like buying a car. You have so many models to choose from, and Asus makes phones, right? And they're trying to mass market their gaming phone, the ROG, and the thing is ridiculous. Even though it's about big as a Galaxy Ultra, the thing has fans built into it to cool the phone off when you're playing games and stuff. And you can they even have a screen on the back, but the screen is blacked out and hidden, and you can program that screen on the back, as well as when you're charging your phone, it'll show you the battery. There's just so many options with Android, so that's why
definitely
I came back to Android.
And then coming back to Android on its top of everything else, the Cadence tablet from the I always blunder up the exact the full company's name, but if you look up the Cadence tablet, and Dave Schleppenbach is the CEO over there, and to have a device that is the size of an iPhone or what have you, and it have the capability of either teaching you Braille or feeling a person's signature and things like that. I mean, the form factors come in different sizes and places. So definitely big ups to Android for at least giving many companies at least that opportunity. It's just I wish certain companies would make better decision choices to give us better software updates, not just stop at like Oreo or let's not go down that pathway. I'll get red. Anyhow, any more questions?
Well, that's the beauty of Android is that is if anybody that's somewhat of a geek like me, Android is based on like Linux, which is a old yet stable programming platform. So by it being open source, the manufacturers can do so much with it and use it in different ways, and you see all these different phones coming out that do something slightly different from another phone. So
And Foster, you had brought up some things about new and old, and it just came to mind. Guided narration 2.0, or not narration, but guided frame 2.0. That's been a new feature that Google has put out there with their Pixel devices. So definitely better functionality of letting you know it's your friend, family, dog, whatever you're pointing at, rather than just the basic generic human over there, human to your right. So having that guided narration or that guided frame, I think also helps us be a little bit more involved in our communities. I mean, maybe you might take in pictures of you about to go skydiving or video, film it, So I think having those features ready to go out of the box, definitely a better buy. $375, you got a phone that's going to do all of these things, plus give you all your accessibility needs. What do you think?
Yeah, definitely.
Sorry, which phone is that?
Pixel does it. Pixel 2.0, the framework stuff. So like it was a Google announcements through their newsletter thing, their quarterly somewhere.
Okay.
But it's part of their YouTube, somewhere on their YouTube.
So you're talking about like one of their A phones at that $350?
Yeah, the A phones is the $375 just to get into a Pixel, right? Because once you get into an A phone, you're already at that price point of any OS. Because Talkback is already on its own cycle, and then OS wise, at this point, it's worth buying the 8 or the 8 Pro because it's 7 years worth of warranty. And I forgot to say for Kenny and some of the folks that were joining us earlier, asking about the S24, it's 7 years worth of warranty. So definitely a worthy contender just for kind of drawing that line in the sand. Because you're going to keep it for 7 years. Same thing with the Pixel 8 and 8 Pro. You're going to keep it for X amount of years. Only thing is, I say Pixel for people that use screen readers because Talkback's up to date, fully functional. Don't have to deal with I'm borrowing this one and that one, in lieu of a Samsung screen reader over the Google one. So, I mean, for what it's worth, if you're low vision, Samsung has the hardware. The screens, I think, are barred none, because even Apple borrows screens from the Samsung display unit to make their own screens. So, the functionality of the screens, the new S24 has a little bit more of a zippier screen. That was written somewhere in some article. Sorry, there's too many release groups, but I heard it somewhere where it's supposed to be a little bit more zippier, maybe 10% faster. So having that 10% faster screen, and then if TalkBack functions 10% better, that could be a miracle, and that could be really smooth and silky as an experience. So those are just some features, some party notes from the big party today. Samsung S24 is released. Pricing, like I said, $799 to $1,299. If you have more questions, please feel free to always reach us out at our mailing list. iBug, Android, Insight, plus subscribe at groups.io. And, if you have questions, if you have thoughts, you want to do something, give us a shout that way that we could be able to help you out there. And we do thank everybody that has joined us tonight. And we got about like 4 to 5 minutes, so if anyone has more closing remarks, feel free to talk.
Yeah, this is Foster again.
Go ahead, Foster.
On the S24, another thing is like you mentioned for low vision, the screen on all three models gets up to 2600 nits brightness, so it's easier to see in direct sunlight. Yeah, so yeah, and you know, the Pixel phones use have Samsung screens on them too. So it's these companies, yet even though they compete a lot with one another, sometimes they get different hardware or whatever from each other. And then on the S24 and the S24 Plus, the screen is like still kind of rounded on the ends, like on the Pixels. But then on the Ultra, they made it flat. It's just a flat screen, so it's really like a brick now, a big rectangular brick. So it's the corners on it. They're not rounded, and the screen is flat. So
it might be smoother to slide around on there with using Talkback for sure. With the brickness of it.
Right.
Interesting.
That's the only time I have issue with my phone, and I've had issue with any of my phones, is when you're out outside in the sunlight. I mean, on the low vision side, you know, you're still going to try to look at things, and I don't know, it just has never been good when you're out like that, unless you're in a nice dim area, you know. Then
and Quentin, I mean, I think that's fair to have that experience. I've also had sight loss slowly, so it's fair to, you know, have kind of that you're seeing something where the icons are. So, you know, your phone is in your top left or bottom left corner, or, you know, your Chrome is all the way to the right, or your apps button's all the way to the right bottom corner. So, you know, familiarity is kind of the key about humans. We always like things to be familiar, and when things aren't, it just takes that little bit of a whirl, you know, give it a try, so to speak. And I guess you've kept an open mind enough to stick around with Android this far. So
yeah,
you know,
and even now it's just more transitioning from, oh, okay, you're using this much vision, now you don't have it, so now you have to kind of learn how those who don't have that much vision, how they do things, which it's been interesting. In some aspects I'm like, wow, why wasn't I doing this before? And others I'm like, oh my, you know, you're so used to, oh, I could just look, or, you know, or squint and strain your eyes to see something, and now it's like, yeah, I don't want to do that.
And again, it's just all about, we all want to be equal. So like, I want to feel confident like Kurt typing with the Braille keyboard input, and, you know, type quickly, because that in that fashion you could be so much more efficient, right? The key word here is efficiency, I guess, at the end of the day.
Right.
And hey, Foster, quick question before we let y'all go is, what kind of monitor is that, and is it 2000 something nits as well? Because, man, that would be nice to have a 2000 nit monitor.
I don't think it's 2000 nits, but it's by a company called Element, and so it was under $200. Cool, it is kind of bulky though.
Well, definitely will look at that brand at least. Ones. Yeah,
there's several other ones, like if you go on eBay or Amazon and you punch in portable monitors, and some of them have bad reviews because some of them, the screens, the sharpness isn't that great.
Right.
But I saw one that was actually wireless, where you use your Bluetooth.
You know what? If you find that link, give that link. Give it to us on that on our list, because you've been posting some amazing stuff on the list. So that way the folks could to grab that link. Because like I said, some people could benefit by having a wireless monitor or different monitors, and it's all about contrast and fixing and mixing your phones, iPhone, Android. everything in between Amazon. So we really appreciate y'all. Happy New Year to everybody. It is January, and I thought we've already been done a show before, but here we are. It's the first show of the year. And thank you, Ava. Thank you
Yes.
for a great evening.
And just remember, everybody, the Friday night movie is Remember the Titans. Starts at 8 p.m. Eastern Central Time. And you can come in at 7:15 p.m. Central Time for their pre-movie get-together. And our next Android Insight call will be February 21st.
All right,
Wow.
time to go tell my speaker that. Hopefully, it could still do that. Can it still do that? I don't know.
All right. Well, everybody have a good evening and Happy New Year.
Happy New Year. Take
Happy
care.
New Year.
Happy New Year.
Mr. Richard, hope you feel better, sir.
Yeah, take it easy.
Thank you.